This is Black Views, bringing you the Black News. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Man. Have you seen President Biden lately? He looks like an old man in dotage. He looks sleepy. He is Sleepy Joe. He looks like it's time to sit down and time to take a rest. Personally, I think it's disastrous that Democrats are trying to hold him up like the weekend at Bernie's and legitimately think that he's going to win the presidency and selling it to black people as if he's doing something great that he's never done. I put a lot of blame on our black politicians. No one's calling him out. No one has anything to say. They're all selling this to us as if we're supposed, like we don't see what we see. They're going out getting top flight black comedians, by the way. They won't get any financial professionals, any lawyers or anybody like that that's going to talk about policies that will help and assist black people. Instead, we're going to go out and we're going to pick top flight comedians and anybody that will help and assist and distract from the fact that Democrats have done nothing for black people in over 60 to 50 years. I can honestly say the last thing they gave us was the civil rights. And not only the wool was put over black people's eyes because we had black politicians and black gatekeepers that did not close the rhetoric. They left the rhetoric open for any and everyone that came to this country to capitalize off of what was deserving for black people. Basically, right now in politics, I feel like as a FBA foundational black American, it is time to get out of the mode of just voting for Democrats because they're Democrats. It is time to actually think about what affects your community and what is right. Stop. I mean, we have no choice because you got to understand, Democrats and Republicans are the same people. Okay, they're both racist people. So we have to start looking at things that will affect us as far as policies. So we can vote for things that will help us as far as financial, businesses, growth, financial growth. It just depends on the policy. So guess what? For instance, you may not like Trump, but you may feel that, okay, hey, immigration is hurting us right now. So guess what? Even though we don't like Trump, even though Trump you may feel in your heart that he's a racist, but the policies that he's putting in place will benefit black people. And that's what we have to start looking at. Stop being concerned about whether or not if we really like this person. We're not going to like anyone. Okay, because there are going to be certain times where they're going to say good things, and like the Democrats, they conceal their feelings. Like they'll just keep saying little things and do nothing. I think that's more ruthless than ever. When you can hold someone accountable for what they do, then it can benefit you. But the Democrats are just going to say, yeah, this is for everyone. We want everyone to prosper and just do things for particular groups. They'll just do it. And all year long, they'll say, yes, we all, we won't say black people. At least Trump will say black people. Well, no, he's going to say people of color. We are not people of color. We're far from that, bro. Okay? We are foundational black Americans, and from that, we are Negroes. But we are not just people of color. So when Democrats come out and say people of color, that means everybody, like they've already been doing. Other groups coming from other countries have capitalized off policies that were meant for the so-called African American, the foundational black Americans. You know, and that's another topic. You know, when we talk about these different names that we have, remember, These names were forced on us by the people that oppressed us, by the people that had us in slavery, by the people that capitalized off the black people that were in slavery. So these are their names. So they can go around and say, well, you supposed to be this, that. No, no. We're delineating because we're not all the same. Okay? There are black people in the United States that were not born here. Okay? And what they do is they play as us and they facilitate certain things and speak on behalf of us as if they are black Americans that were descendants of chattel slavery. No, we're not the same. You weren't, many of you were anchor babies, okay? Tethers. All right, so, and let's understand this, right? Every person or every person of color or black person is not a tether. There are a lot of riders. There are a lot of people, a lot of black people that come from the diaspora who see what goes on and understands, and they stay out of black American issues. They stay in their lanes, okay? But I know from growing up that a lot of these groups came here and they delineated first, because when they came here, they immediately said they were not black. They were Panamanian. I'm not black, I'm Puerto Rican. I'm not black, I'm Cuban. They were darker than me. Hair crispier than mine. And they said, hey, I'm not black. So that's how when I was young, I grew up basically, I was born in the 70s. So I grew up during the 90s. And so in the 90s, we tried to discover who we were. We did say we were Africans, okay? We felt that we were from, we tried to find exactly where the roots were and where they came from. And then as we grew, we started to see this disdain for us. We never had anything negative to say about them. Now, you'll hear them say, well, they made fun and called me African booty scratcher. Guess what? If you were black and you grew up in the inner city, the rites of passage was to be talked about. In DC area, we called it joning. Different areas call it different things. In New York, they called it ranking. Okay, and basically what this was, we cut on each other, we laughed at each other, and none of us had anything. We were poor, but that was just the rites of passage. Now, I can understand. Here come an African from Africa who is just totally afflicted. Okay, I mean, there were poor kids from the city who were afflicted also, but they were in there in that group, and then when they got talked about, they have this disdain. See, they weren't able to take that what I would call hazing. They weren't able to do it. Whether you like it or not, everybody went through it. But you'll hear Africans today speak on it as if they were the only ones that were, how can I say, just put out there in the open and we just talked about Africans. No, we talked about everybody. Okay? I remember living in the city, you know what I'm saying? We had maybe 1 or 2 Puerto Ricans. We had one, maybe an African here, you know what I'm saying? Somebody from Sudan or somebody from wherever, right? And many times we left them alone because they never spoke. They kept to themselves. So don't listen to the stories, all the stories you hear about how they were made fun of. They were unable to assimilate with us because their parents told them, stay away from them. Although they're in class with 90% black people, their parents told them to stay away from us. And then many of these kids, foreigners, started to realize, hey, you know what I'm saying? These black people cool. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of them adopted the ways of foundational black Americans, started dressing, started talking like, and they were accepted into these groups. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like I'm just saying those were the ones that were able to assimilate. The other ones that continued to pick their toes in class and walk around barefooted, of course, they got laughed at by kids. That was their culture from where they're from. I get it. But in America, When you start picking your toes in class and you start doing things, blowing snot out your nose and these things are irregular to us because that's not how we grew up. We were taught those things were dirty and disgusting. So when we laughed at it, you know, keep in mind these are children. So when we laughed at it, foreigners took it as a spite, and it really wasn't. It was just a rites of passage, and some assimilate and some didn't. So let me get off that subject for now. Okay, we're going back into the politic arena here. But I had to get off on that for a second first because I wanted to explain to you firsthand. Because hey, I am in my 50s. I have grew and was here during the times of all these things that where they'll tell you hip hop and Hispanics and all this. Listen, Hispanics were here, but they were not the originator. They were participants. And like I said, many of them were participants because they were around us. And they had no, like I told you, remember I said, it was maybe where I'm not from New York, I'm from DC. So I can't say my class was 50% Hispanic. My classroom may have had, like I said, 3, 4, maybe 5 Hispanics. Now I don't even think that much. But anyway, they didn't run shit. So I never saw that dominance of like Hispanics doing anything but participating and doing what they saw us do. Okay. So I can get off of that for a second. Back to the politics. So now we look at the black politician. Let's really dissect what it is. On Twitter, I have approached some youth that are attending HBCUs, and I would say things like, what is your objective and what is your object as far as black people? And their response is, there's a cutoff. You get yours, I get mine. That is exactly the conversation that you get that come out of HBCUs. So that mentality, you get yours, you get mine, that translates over into to the political arena as well. So when you see a college-educated HBCU person coming out as a politician, they're not saying anything about black people. They're just trying to be able to get the job. They want to be able to sit on Capitol Hill and say they have an office and be distinguished. Like Clyburn, he's just a participant in Congress. His jurisdiction is nothing special to look at and say, hey, Clyburn, he created this. No, he's a figurehead, an old figurehead that's sitting in Congress, supposedly of some type of power because he's been there for over 40 years, doing nothing. And he would speak in a way almost like, what's the other guy? Damn it, I can't think of his name. The other one, a black politician who just speaks as if they done something great. But what they're doing is down talking you. Okay, they're down talking black people, telling black people, don't do this, don't do that. And yet they're wagging their finger, but they have nothing for you. They're just there to put you in line, tell you to shut up, be quiet, sit in your place, and let the white man carry on his business, and I'm going to get a check. See, that's how it goes. See, in Congress, you ain't getting nothing in Congress, bro. You could look at some of these young black people. Listen, they ain't saying nothing in Congress. And I don't have all their names because they're not important. They're not. Now maybe there may be 1 or 2 congressmen, but I don't hear anything. Nobody's saying anything. Nobody's breaking any waves. So we have to vote on what is best for us as a whole, wherever we can creep into, and maybe the same way we're being used as a swing vote for the Democrats, we can do that for a particular candidate that can assist us, that can actually assist us. Okay, if they're speaking those terms, we can be that swing vote to give them the presidency or give them electoral office, governor, mayor, however that works. But we cannot be afraid to vote because they're white or because they're of a different race, especially if our own race is giving you absolutely nothing. Nothing. We'll just sit there and just control the lanes and control the lanes of opportunities. Those who will be able to move up because, I don't know, maybe their booty hole loose. You understand what I'm saying? Their booty hole loose, so they're being favored to work in these type of positions. That's what I see. I worked over 25 years in IT. In certain situations, I felt that I can look and I can see with my own eyes that there are people that are moving up, having favoritisms based on, hey, their personalities. Let's just say that. And then on the other side, you have foreigners that are coming in. They're getting right plugged in because the ops manager is of that same countryman. So, and they can speak in that language, that second language, or their first language. Our language is their second language. And they can speak in that native tongue to each other and have a vibe on each other. While here you are, this is your country, and they're working around you. Okay, and you're working underneath them. This is one of the things I noticed. And then in those corporate entities, if you do happen to have a black person, same as a politician, they only want to show that they are able to work in an environment and be just as racist as a racist white man. I swear to you, male and female. So it's not just women, but I will tell you the women that they do a lot of, bed winching. And I'm talking corporate now. I'm not talking down in Safeway. I'm not talking down, in the shopping center. I'm talking working on federal corporate level, okay? Where you're working with SESers and directors and things like that. And so you're able to see who's working the server room and why all of them working the server room. You understand? And your black bottom is walking around. You're trying to fit in a spot, but nobody is really putting you under their wing. And for those that understand what I'm saying, if you know, you know. If you don't, then you may experience it coming soon. And if you ever worked around, immigrants, and I hate to say it, of the diaspora, well, it's like Macbeth did to Caesar. Et tu, Brute? Like they're stabbing you in your back. They're laughing at you and yeah, and you're helping them out. You're showing them the proper way to do things in the workplace. And guess what they do? They'll go right back to the manager. And guess what? Sometimes the manager can be, in my case, female. FBA female, Jack. And guess what? That immigrant or that foreigner who's here on a visa, go right in there and tell them, I don't know, Bobby's been gone Bobby's been gone all day. I don't know where he's at. I don't know what he's doing. That's how they roll. So just be careful out there. Like, do you ever pay attention to Twitter and notice how all the white supremacists have the same talking points? And guess who else has those talking points? The tethers. The tethers and the white supremacists share the same talking points. I listen to Tariq Nasheed and I just listen to these tethers, man, and they sound exactly the way the white supremacists. They even say the same thing per capita. Just talking all that crazy shit. And so we have to understand that there are also groups of people that'll show pictures of people that are like in Haiti and say that these are black people. Like they'll try to mix it up. Like, just saying that is us. Those are American blacks and that's not us. They try to confuse the fruits and apples and shit, acting totally stupid and like they don't really get it. And that's part of also white supremacy, confusion, right? To always keep you like off. So you have to know your history. You have to know who you are. And, me being born in the 70s, that gives me an insight into knowing the truth. Because I was here in the 70s, Jack. You can't come talk to me now about some shit that I saw in the 70s and then try to say this is what it is, because it's not. If you really want to go back, I remember a time when white people didn't wear Nikes. They wore like capers and Kenny capers and shit and white shoes and all kind of weird shit. They didn't start wearing Nikes until they saw us wearing Nikes. And that's when we started getting bussed to schools with them. Now, I'm not going to say every last. I'm just talking about DC area. Okay, I can only speak on that. All right. White kids wasn't wearing what we're wearing. In fact, they didn't start wearing like clothes where we wear clothes to actually the 90s or mid 80s, like around 88, 89, something like that. That's where they really started to like transform their dress like us. You know, when you start seeing white kids today, you know, dressing all hip, got the shirt all backwards and the hat backwards and doing all that. All that you see everybody else, the way they dress today, they got from African Americans, foundational black Americans. Not no Africans from Africa that came there to America, foundational black Americans who are descendants of chattel slavery. It's just that simple. We are the culture. Okay, I remember, black girls doing double dutch all day. I just remember these things, because they were a part of my childhood. I remember sports. I remember everything. We dominated. Boxing, we dominated. So, I mean, even when you had the strong Mexican fighter, I mean, Julio Cesar Chavez, that's my motherfucking man, because he was a tank. And there were a host of other Hispanic boxers that were great. So we don't take that away. But don't try to sit here and act like you've been dominating something or you have been, you were in control of a particular, genre. That's just not true. And so today, that is my conversation. I just wanted to speak today. And tomorrow I will come back and speak some more. I want to let you know, FBA, love each other, respect each other, because we all we got, man. Thank you. This is Black Views, bringing you the black news.